everybody should have to work retail. Everybody should have to know what it feels like to be dealing with somebody who is a jerk and an absolute idiot to you for no particular reason, and you just have to smile and do your job.
Yeah.
And we're recording. What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode number 16 of the Winston Boys podcast, exploring wealth, science, and wisdom through philosophical debates. My name is Kush, and today we have a special episode for you guys. This is an episode we did with a podcast called Psychosmos, which is based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. They're all about, motivation, self-development, all that kind of stuff. If you guys like what you see today, we'll have all the stuff linked in the description below, so make sure to check them out. And with that, please enjoy today's special episode.
All right, we're recording.
Awesome. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Psychosmos. Today, Rich and I are joined by Kush and Alex from Winston Boys podcast. We're so thankful that you guys took some time out of your day to join us on our show. We're going to talk on some philosophical discussions today, astronomy, business, and things like that. So if you guys could tell us a little bit about yourselves, maybe a little background, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. I think, Alex, you should probably set the precedent. I don't know what to say.
Set the precedent, huh? All right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, everyone. I'm Alex. I go to Wake Forest. I am a philosophy and physics major. I really enjoy just thinking about different things and how the world works. I think I run on my free time. That's about it.
Yeah. That's like, I feel like, as a 20-year-old, it's like kind of hard to like give an introduction because I don't really know. Right. But anyway, my name is Kush. I go to Carolina. I'm a comp sci major, really into high growth entrepreneurship in the tech space. Like literally, if I look at everything I've done over the last like 2.5 years, it's just been like founder. So that's just what I do in my free time and not my free time also.
That's fantastic, guys. I would love to ask you a question then. Where do you kind of see the business tech industry headed towards with all the new stuff, I guess you could say, that has even come out in just the last decade, maybe in regards to AI, things of that nature? I'll let you handle that question in any way you'd like. Yeah,
we had a whole episode on this like a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, so we've done our research on this one. This is really good. Yeah, so Kush, do you want to answer that? You're probably more qualified than me.
The first thing I'll say, like, I feel like a lot of times, like, and this, I might just be speculating wrong, but I feel like a lot of times when people think of AI, like, a lot of people kind of think about it the wrong way and like kind of put things like Siri and that kind of stuff in the AI category. And like, that's not really AI. That's kind of just like a personal assistant, and they gave it like a voice interface. But it's not really doing anything fancy. But I think the other side of AI, which is like the whole like data analysis and all that, that's like a really powerful tool. And I don't really, my opinion's not very valuable. Like, you can just look at a company like Oracle and see like, it's obviously incredibly valuable for the world. I don't know what you think, Alex.
I think, as far as where AI is going, I'll kind of answer that part. I actually have done a little bit of research on this. So I don't know if you guys heard of the game Dota. And I promise this is going somewhere. You have. I don't play as much anymore because I got kind of busy and it takes a lot of time. But I used to be a very avid Dota player, and I was into Dota when they were doing the OpenAI stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but they took Elon Musk designed a bot, basically an AI, and he had a team do it, of course. And
I heard about this. Yes, that's right. Go on. Keep going.
It was so cool. I watched the playoffs and everything. But so anyway, every year there's like a Dota tournament, right? It's like an esport, and it's really fun. Like, the winning team makes a bunch of money. Like, I think last year it was like 17 or 18 million. Anyway, so it's really fun. I was watching it, and so they introduced this OpenAI bot, which is like basically they took the computer and they let it play Dota against itself for like 1 billion hours, and they just saw what happened. And of course they put in parameters like, oh, you want to win, it's good to get kills on the enemy team, things like that. They weighted certain things so the computer knew what it should be doing. But then like they didn't give it any like guidelines at all for how to behave. They just let it figure it out. And it was really interesting because it ended up playing a lot like humans. Of course, it had practiced a lot more than a human has ever played, right? Because it can play at like 1,000 times speed or whatever, right, against itself over and over again. And so it had a lot of experience. But it was weird because it pretty much acted very human, except it did bizarre things in team fights, which is like when the two teams kind of like gang up on each other. Most of the game's kind of spent alone, and you kind of come together at certain times to like, once you've acquired resources, to fight each other. And it behaved weirdly then because it's like it was so synchronized. It would like,
Right.
it trusted itself and it's like in its teammates like more than humans did, which was interesting. And then it was really it had some very bizarre strategies. Like it would just suicide into towers to get damage, like to damage the enemy structures. But so anyway, I guess the point is AI is very promising because it does things humans wouldn't be like have.
Right. And on that, it's amazing that the system can take all this information and store it internally, and then use that massive amount of information and then process it immediately to make real-time decisions for the bot itself. And to me, that's I can't even imagine how far tech has had to come to have something like this exist and be utilized in that way.
Yeah, and the really cool thing is it's really self-trained. I mean, it's not like I said, programmer like Kush didn't come along and tell it what to do. It just dropped the computer in the game with certain guidelines, right? And was like, okay, figure out. And it's a very complicated game with a lot of different mechanics and stuff. And it was just like, okay, figure out how to play, figure out how to win. And it got to the point after a couple of years and God knows how many hours where it could beat the world's best team pretty consistently. Actually, they let high-ranked public players play against it for a while. And I believe it won 99.7% of its games. There were a handful of games where it lost.
That had to have been a good feeling for the humans winning against the AI, I'd say.
No kidding.
It'd be Skynet. Yeah, exactly. No, it was kind of, everyone was rooting for the humans, but it was just too good. It was way too good.
It's an interesting thing about really, AI and a lot of tech today, especially the voice stuff that you mentioned before, Kush. We're really waiting for things to get, and you guys might agree or disagree or think of another thing that may be more important. But when I think of any type of AI, I think we're waiting for things to get much quicker with the voice stuff. So anything that's instantaneous where you can say, hey, Alexa, hey, Siri, or whatever it might be, and then have it do it immediately without having to wait and lag and things like that. And we're getting there. But I think once that's perfected, it's going to change the game.
Yeah. I don't know. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I can't. I feel like I should know that law off the top of my head. It's not. Anyway, you guys probably know the name. It's like where processors get like twice as fast every year or something like that.
18.
Yeah, 18. But it's like that. I mean, that thing. I mean, that law is always gonna be there. A lot of people are talking about how like, oh, now we're reaching like the physical limits of how fast the processor could get. But I remember I took a more like hardware focused class my sophomore year. And in there, like we actually learned like, well, back in the early 2000s, financially, like we were already reaching the limits of just making these little transistors like smaller. So we had to like innovate and find other ways to allow this like self-fulfilling prophecy to keep going, because all these businesses would plan on their computers getting faster in that amount of time. And so because that huge financial incentive was there, that's when stuff like multiple cores and all that came in, because people found like, okay, like, what's like an actual efficient way to do this. So, I think that's always going to be there. I think computers are going to keep getting faster and faster. And so I was just going to throw that out there just because I know we were talking about speed.
I'm curious to see what you guys would think about this, because I don't know too much about AI really. But I've noticed, and I find it interesting, in the same way that people having access to their phones in some ways has made us stupider. The reliance on it, the luxury of not having to know certain things, just having the ability to just whip it out on your phone. And I'm wondering what What do you think could be a potential problem in the realm of AI about that happening? Like what problem could AI have with making us, more stupid in a way that the phone has for a lot of people?
Alex, this is more of your thing.
So me think. I 100% am sympathetic to the worries of AI making us dumb. I think that a few things. For one, AI has been super useful in different physical sciences. For instance, the other day I went to a physics talk about this guy who was talking about, I think they were oxodes. And it was like bonds, certain types of oxygen bonds between different metals that are super important in like biological chemistry. And it was way over my head because I'm not a chemistry person. But I do remember that he was talking about how most proteins and stuff, there were parameters that they plugged it into an AI and watched the AI like figure out how the proteins bonded and stuff. And initially they thought it was random, and the AI figured out that the ones they thought were random were actually way more predictable than the ones they thought they weren't, that like the ones they thought weren't random with these oxide bondings. So they thought like, oh, there's a chance that it just goes here, here, or here, and we can't tell. And the AI was able to watch and analyze the patterns of like when it bonded at each place, and was like, actually, there's a really, really good chance it bonds here in this case, and then here in this case. And so I would say it has a lot of potential, right? I mean, those are things that even after the AI showed them this, like, well, once the AI showed them the solution, they were like, oh yeah, of course, but they would never have gotten it. Right. The AI can think. Let me rephrase that. It can't think. AIs don't think. They compute, but it can compute things way more naturally than we can. Right. And it can find relationships by that computing action that a human would just not be able to figure out because there's too many numbers. I mean,
Right.
I've done, an easy homework assignment I did. Right. That was for a mid-level physics course I'm taking. That was like, it was like modeling a system of springs. So like two springs hooked up to two walls, and like there are two masses, and it's kind of jiggling back and forth. There's an expression for that. The expression had about 60 terms. It would have taken me a year to do it by hand. And the computer, I press a couple buttons, click enter, and it figures it out in like a minute. I mean, that's wild.
Way better.
There's a lot of stuff there that AI can just, and that's not AI per se, but that stuff can be amazing. On the other hand, I would say in real life, right, after watching the Dota 2 bot, they're it's really good at what it does in Dota 2, but that took a team of programmers like 2 years. And if there was an update, it would have like crashed and burned because it
Right.
wasn't to do.
Yeah.
And also they had to limit the hero pool and stuff, and it was like and like take out different aspects of the game that it couldn't figure out. And that's for a game that it's a complicated game, but compared to the real world, it's very simple, right? So I think if you just took the Dota 2 AI and just like threw it out onto Wake Forest campus or outside, where I am, it'd be really confused, right? It'd be like, what do I do? I don't know how much it's going to replace human intelligence and make us dumber in that aspect, because it has to be in a relatively simple system.
Right. Well said. And I think with AI specifically, in some degree, it's kind of changing our biology based on our dependence off of things like that. And when you don't have the ability to learn and retain that information or that skill in something as simple as self-driving cars, it's something that's going to eventually be lost unless we continue to educate people on how to do even the simple tasks. I saw recently they just came out with it. I saw an ad for it. It's like this self like frying like chicken cooker for a fast food restaurant. And as something as simple as that, we're going to be relying on that now to cook for us. And I think just personally, and maybe this might be a good transition to some of the philosophical stuff. I feel like there's a particular human touch trait that every person has and can add an influence on the natural world. There's something that's very nice about it, especially you look at some of the older cars of the past that were 100% mechanical. not electrical or things like that. And there's something in that I at least feel like I can appreciate in.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, I think mechanical cars are awesome. I'm glad you mentioned that. I don't know. I just wanted to. I'm also a fan of that. Yeah.
Appreciate that. And, I'd love for you guys maybe to also, maybe shed some light on some of like the philosophical stuff you're learning in, present day college, which I'm sure is very different from college for us a few years ago.
Yeah, I remember, I think like Matt had mentioned, you guys are like 20, 26, 27, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I'm curious. I know we mentioned, so we're going to UNC and Alex is at Wake. Did you guys go to like school in state too, or were you guys kind of like
Not here. I went
Okay.
to SUNY New Paltz up in New York. It's one of the state of New York universities.
Yep, we actually both did, and we dormed for what was that, like 2 years there?
Good
Yeah.
times.
Oh, nice. Wait, are you guys? Oh, okay. Sorry, I don't mean to get off track. I was just kind of curious if you guys were.
No,
Yeah,
of course we're happy to go off track
I was
here.
I was history major. He was. What was your exact major?
My major was film, so I did a lot of filming with actually Tyler, who also went to New Paltz. And after that, I did 2 years up in Utica, where I was trying to, figure out what it was I wanted to do, and I went to Utica for animal behavior training because I wanted to train animals. So
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And then I kind of got off of that, and I said, you know what? I could go back anytime. Let me focus on my career right now, build this business, which hence here we are. So yeah, and now we're here. Now we moved to the Charlotte area and have been loving it since. So
Awesome.
with
That's
exception to the rain, which I hope y'all can't hear it right now because it's pretty loud next to the
Yeah, I can hear the on my end like through my headphones.
Okay.
Really? I can't
Yeah.
hear anything. That's really good.
Yeah, I mean not your guys' rain, but the rain happening here, I can hear.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't hear
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so I think the question was, what have we learned philosophically from college so far, I guess?
Yeah. What's some stuff that's stuck out for you?
Oh gosh, well I've gone through almost a philosophical. I came into college, and I had a friend who was a philosophy major, and I was always poking fun of him. I was like, "What are you gonna do with a philosophy degree?" His name was Sam, and he transferred to UVA last year. But he, anyway, super cool guy. We used to hang out and play chess. That was like our thing every week because we'd have like a chess tournament, and he usually won. So he was pretty good. And anyway, he was like, you got to quit making fun of me and just take a philosophy course. You don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll take one. And I went and took it. And I had this crazy dude who has the office right down the hall. I probably shouldn't mention him by name. But anyway, the guy's not crazy in a bad way. He's crazy in a really good way. He lives on a farm and is like, like imagine like a philosophy professor, like the stereotype, like probably smoked too much weed in college, like, like just kind of hangs around, like, probably has a pipe or whatever, like, I don't know, like there's a certain stereotype, right? He's like the opposite. He's like super conservative, like devoutly Catholic, served in the army, like bounced around between schools, and then finally like found that he loved philosophy and like went into that after he got out of the army. And so anyway, I came in, was like, okay, everything's like objective or relative or whatever, like totally morally relativist, and also thought philosophy was a bunch of BS. And in the span of like one semester, I was like, oh, okay, I'm majoring in philosophy now. And I'm totally wrong. And I'm now like, I think there's objective morality. So I don't know. It was really fascinating. But
Damn, that's a hell of a semester change.
It was.
You must have done a good job.
he was awesome.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
I think you're double majoring though, right? Just to
Yeah,
clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a double major in physics and philosophy separately. Yeah.
That is an interesting combo. I like that.
It is, and they don't have much to do with each other, but it's really nice because I like spend half my time doing math and then half my time reading, so it's kind of like balances each other out a little bit.
So,
What about you, Kush?
I'm sorry, what was
Yeah.
that?
You got I was just seeing if Kush had something to add there. I talked for a while.
Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have anything to add on philosophy in particular. I could add like how kind of like my like worldview changed through my experiences.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
philosophy.
I mean, I guess I'll just throw it in really quick. So, I mean, I guess like I came into college. I'd taken comp sci, like, a couple comp sci classes in high school, and then I was like, oh, this is something that makes a lot of money, so I'll major in it. And so I came into college and I was like, I'll major in comp sci. But like, obviously, like I'm not like a kid who was like programming since I was like 6. It's not, it's fun, but it's not like my true passion or whatever. And so I did that whole thing, and then even my freshman year, I was like, oh, comp sci and business, that sounds like it'll make even more money. So you know what I'll do? I'll get a comp sci degree and double major in business. Um, but I mean, later I got rejected from our B school twice. So business thing didn't happen. But like basically I came in with that. And my freshman year, I was just going through the motions, like applied to almost every comp sci or every software engineering internship I could find on LinkedIn. And accidentally applied to a graduate level product management internship near the end of my freshman year. And if you don't know what product management is, it's kind of like if you take entrepreneurship, the half of entrepreneurship where you're actually creating a product and testing it and doing UX and all that, that's product management. And so I had the interview. Lady was really nice. She realized I wasn't a grad student, but she explained what it was. And literally a week later, there was a girl going around all the comp sci classes talking about how she's starting a product management club at UNC. And so boom, like joined the founding team there, and then started to realize, oh, this is something I'm really interested in. And then kind of over that summer, like volunteered at my local chamber of commerce, had some experiences with that, was around lots of entrepreneurs, got passionate about that. And then joined this incubator on campus with this idea for a high growth business, and was around like a lot of these like venture capitalists and angel investors. And I was just super excited. I mean, I remember like I had that incubator, I would go every Monday for the full year, my sophomore year. And Monday nights were my favorite just because, I'd go there for 4 hours and there was always something new. We were always, like today we're going to go out and like, you guys, make your interview scripts for this or, financial model, this or that. Anyway, I'm rambling. That was really fun. And I just realized, okay, this whole entrepreneurship thing is really, really fun. And then even beyond that, like I got to the point kind of where I'd realized, okay, tech is cool. I'm not really the person who loves writing the code, but I like tech. I love entrepreneurship. I could like pitch competitions. All this stuff is super fun. And then I got into reading about personal finance. So like stuff like Rich Dad Poor Dad. And also there's lots of good people on YouTube and stuff like that. And then I realized, oh, comp sci doesn't make a lot of money because if I get a job as a software engineer and I'm just trading in my time for money, that's not really a way to get rich. And then I also realized, oh, I'm passionate about entrepreneurship and this is a route that I can take to get somewhere where like, I can actually become rich. And the goal of becoming rich isn't just to have a lot of money and have nice things. It's like I can be free. And so that kind of like led me to this point where I was like, okay, this is like, I'm at a point in my life where there's like a fork in the road, which I didn't realize before. And I was like, on one hand, like I could choose like a life of ease and comfort and just, have nice things and just have, just a normal, comfortable life.
Right.
Or I could go the other route. I could choose a life of service and adventure. And I think everyone has that choice. And so I'd say like my big philosophical discovery in college has just been like, I want to like grind my ass off to have this life of service and adventure. And I think a lot of people like don't, I mean, I've talked to people who are like in their 50s who haven't, resonated with that idea. So
right.
I was going to throw it out there.
I got to give it to you guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to shed some light on that because it sounds to me like you're both on your own unique individual paths. And that's, you're in this age of discovery, which is kind of similar to our situation when we were younger, kind of putting us on a path of figuring out who we're going to be in this world and navigating that landscape.
You guys sound like you're actually having the college experience because what's interesting about both your stories is that you guys both pivoted based when new information was brought to your attention. And like, that's a surprisingly rare skill. And I think it's only getting rarer in today's world, especially for younger people, unfortunately. But it's cool that both of you did it in different ways. And it's cool because that's what I think people want out of the college experience is the idea is you're supposed to go there with a general idea and then you learn new things and have new experiences and you sort of pivot, you change your trajectory and everything. And that seems to be what people play up the college experience as being like, but I feel as though a lot of people don't actually get to experience that for a bunch of different reasons.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I'm always really happy when I like find out I was wrong about something. I don't know, or like wrong about what I wanted to do, or just wrong about
Yeah.
what I used to have, because I'm like, oh well, like now I know something new. You know what I mean? Now I know more than I did. I don't know. Like I don't know. It's always
It's
cool.
wonderful that you say that, because there's so many other people out there where they get that information and they feel like it's an attack on themselves. And those are the people that live in bubbles. You know, they can't take any type of criticism or any, different school of thought, new school of thought, however you want to phrase it there.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
absolutely agree.
I feel like too, I'll add this in because I feel like this is another thing that I've more recently just discovered in my life. It's like, I don't know if this just is correlated with being younger and like you realize this when you're older, or if this is like a unique discovery. But I just feel like, when I was younger, like there was still like a thought in the back of my head that like, oh, people actually like care like what I do or what I think or like, whatever. And like, I feel like as I've gotten older, like I started to realize, oh, no one actually gives a shit because everyone cares about themselves so much. And so like a lot of times it's like I know there's a book called Start by John Acuff that I really love. And in the appendix at the end of the book, like one of his bits of advice he gives, he's like, when someone says something to you, like it's like obviously you have to take into account that like that person's like self-obsessed. So that's first and foremost. But then with that in mind, like ask yourself two questions, like, who said it? Like, is this someone who's actually like invested in my life, like a really close friend or family member? And then why'd they say it? Because a lot of times, like, it's like, if they're actually trying to help you, then, take the feedback. But if it's someone random on the internet who's just sad and is trying to like, give themselves some like therapy, like,
Spot on.
And to add on to that, I think there's another layer of it is whenever you interact with somebody, your most inner self is never interacting with their most inner self. You guys are always interacting with either a mask or a perception of the other person. And it's not to say that it's inherently negative all the time, but everybody sort of does that because I have a perception of a person based off of how they treated me and how they behaved and whatever, and that goes into how I view them for good and for bad.
Well said. And it's really like I like the mask and as a metaphor there, because it's like a persona. Everyone has their own internal idea of themselves, and then every other person out there. I think this may have been something that you told me at one point, Rich. Every single person that you encounter or have a relationship with has a thought of you that's different from everyone else
and different from you.
That's actually a really good point. I never thought about it that way.
That's awesome. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that either. Because I've interacted with different people in different ways too, and I guess it's different masks I wear. There's
a philosopher, I can't remember his first name, but Krishnamurti. He's fantastic. He's got a bunch of really, really cool books. I can't remember which one that's from off the top of my head, but that was one of the things that he discussed is this idea of, you're never really interacting with a person. You're always interacting with this view of them that you have.
What an interesting, idea. I haven't personally read any of his stuff, but I'll have to look into it. What'd you say his name was?
I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Krishnamurti. He's got an interesting story. Some weird occult group basically thought that he was, like their savior, Messiah, come again, and he was groomed to be that. And then towards the midpoint of his life, he had a realization that wasn't it, and he pretty much turned it all away and just became a wandering philosopher, author, speaker.
Huh. He was groomed to be the Messiah. That's really
interesting. Yeah. It's there's so many weird groups in the 1900s where it's like this weird occult group, like the Masons, but smaller, and they have like this savior that they think came back. There's like a lot of them. You don't think it's as common as it actually is, but
it's crazy.
That sounds like a Buddha-esque story. Like, because like wasn't the Buddha wasn't he like supposed to be like a king or something, and then he left it all behind?
He was a prince. Yeah, he was a prince, and the reason that he turned to the Buddha was because one day he left the palace walls and he saw suffering, and I think one of the versions of the story, he saw death. He had like literally never seen death before. He had no concept of it. And that was one of the things that shook him. And he was like, wow, this is really bad. I can't believe there's this much suffering in life. I got to find a way to get around this. And yeah, I think he did a pretty good job.
It was an interesting, I don't know, Buddhism's really fascinating because on one hand, it's like such an interesting, like, you know, the path of removing yourself from the suffering is very, I guess, philosophically interesting. And at the same time, I remember, I think there's some parable that's like, this king was so virtuous that he was giving up everything to this bad guy who was trying to like influence him. And he even gave up his children. And he was so good that he didn't care, you know what I mean? And he was willing to give that up because he was so unattached. And I'm like, that's not good. Like, I want to be attached. I don't know.
Yeah. There's always a fine line.
Yeah. I guess I don't personally believe in that the answer is to remove ourselves from the world, but rather to make the world less, full of suffering. Definitely.
I'm definitely with you on that one. I do like, I think probably Buddhism and Taoism. And since Buddhism is, definitely influenced by Hinduism, I got to give Hinduism some props too. But I think those two ones, better than most spiritualities, really nail the duality of everything. Just like beautifully. They really, really get it. The Tao Te Ching, especially when it talks about the whole idea of you only know tall in reference to short. If short didn't exist, tall's whole qualities and how you view it wouldn't exist. You need the opposite to give perspective to the thing. So, and like, I just think they got it so on point. And like, there's some stuff in the Western philosophy in the Western world that I think we definitely can appreciate and understand it, but my goodness, the East Asian philosophies, they just nailed it.
Oh yeah. I think like I know, because like too, you're talking about like kind of like Eastern versus Western philosophy, and this is a bit of like a jump, but I know you kind of see the same thing in business, where like I know for example, the incubator program that I was in, that I kind of did with but with that, like it was kind of a part of the MBA program. And so, there were a couple undergrads, but it was mostly like MBAs, and it was aimed at MBAs. And being around that group of people, I think a lot of times, like when you look, and nothing against MBAs. In fact, like one day if I feel like I need to come back to get like my MBA or something, I might do that. But it's like a lot of times, like that mindset is like so focused on how do you engineer a business financially, and it gets so removed. Like humans weren't meant to like engineer businesses. Like we were meant to like we were meant to be like creative and like innovative and stuff. And I feel like a lot of times, like with like what our society values, like those people get so fixated on titles and fancy words and the financial model doing some crazy like B to B to C kind of thing. Whereas in reality, like, all of this happens because you've identified a problem that you really care about and you want to solve it, and you're creating some cool shit that solves it. And then it's like, okay, now how do we compete with this cool shit? And that's that's where all this other stuff comes in. But I was just going to throw it in because I think that's something else that like Western kind of philosophies like push people away from.
Oh, definitely. I think there's way more of an emphasis, and a lot of the time a wrong way, on the prize after the product. And there's nothing really wrong with that, but like you laid out two different ways of coming at the problem. The one hand, it's here's a problem. How can we profit the most from a solution to this problem? Versus here's a problem. What's the best way to solve this problem? And then how can we use that best solution then to profit us? Which it's like, I think the latter is much better, generally speaking, at least morally. And then I think that's why there's a lot of people out there who are businessmen and business owners and entrepreneurs who make tons of money, but they're perfectly good, nice people, and people seem to like them and enjoy their company or whatever. So it seems to me that they're more in line with that second one than the first one.
And you're right. Well said, Rich. And on that too, it's like you're putting a difference of value on, as Gary Vee says. I'm sure you guys probably see a lot of his stuff online. He's like, the best thing you can do is put value into other people. See what you can do to help them. Don't focus so much on putting value into your own product, because you just focus on that, you're not going to help anyone,
Isn't that book too? I don't know if you guys have read How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
Yeah, phenomenal book. Anybody out there, totally recommend it. It's great. But he talks about in there all these problems with people when they're like, offering, like applying for a job or trying to get a contract with somebody. They'll emphasize what they want and how cool they are and stuff like that, instead of emphasizing what I can do for you, which is always way better because people like to hear that stuff. This is what I can do for you, and this is what I can do to fix your issues and problems, instead of this is what I can do. I'm so awesome. I have all these capabilities, and it's all about the angle of entry, I think.
Oh yeah, dude, Alex. I think Alex is probably having flashbacks to when we were like writing an intro for one of our episodes. But no, I 100% like that book. Honestly, more than like I know a lot of people like look at it from like a leadership perspective and stuff like that. But I think more than all that, like that is one of the best like marketing and sales books out there. I mean, like I remember like with PM Club, like with all of our marketing copy, like we always start with like the value prop and then like a little sentence explaining it and stuff like that. And I remember like our person who kind of like is in charge of marketing, like I remember one time she had like written like kind of like a long form like slide that was going to go in these professors like pitch decks. I remember like the big hero header was like, we are super excited to announce that we're partnering with 2 companies this semester. And I remember looking at that and I was like, well, like, I mean, this is really good design wise. And I think all the lines are there, but we kind of need to flip this around because no one gives a shit that we're partnering with 2 companies. They want to know what they're getting out of this. So, like,
yeah, that's
I
thought about that. Yeah, that's really.
I would just add that book. I think that's that might be the best book I can think of for just how to interact with people, for like not even just business, just like anything. Like the thing about asking questions, that has been such a phenomenally tiny but powerful thing that I've done. Just asking people questions about things that they like, they light up. It's honestly, it feels good, and like they like it, and it's helpful for you. It's so easy.
Oh yeah, I had people who like prior like I was like a little bit of tension between us, and then I started doing that, and it was almost just like like even if you don't like them, just ask questions and then leave, and it's like it feels like you had a great conversation.
Definitely.
It gives them time to share their perspective, and especially as someone who's I'm getting some experience in sales right now. I won't say in specifically what, but I will say when you're asking clients questions about doing that discovery, finding out more about them, it's going to help you land a sale like 8 out of 10 times. If you showing that you're interested in them and their business, they're more willing to work with you.
Oh yeah, I remember. Sorry, I'm talking a lot, but this is sparking something in my head.
Love bouncing around.
I remember like on exactly what you're saying. I went to this like sales talk last semester just because like I feel like I just go to these things randomly sometimes. But it was this guy, just like a local like sales consultant guy, and he was explaining how like when he gets people like when he's like working with these like entrepreneurs who are trying to learn sales, he says there's 2 kinds of guys he gets. He says one is like the entrepreneur who's an engineer, like coming from an engineering background. He said surprisingly, that guy is good with sales. He said the guy that isn't good with sales is the corporate guy who's been brought in as the VP of sales because he's used to like a systematic, repetitive process. But entrepreneurial sales, require like a bit more like of a scientific approach. But he explained how the reason the engineer is so good at sales is because the engineer cares about solving the problem. So like, when they start talking to you, they're like, okay, what problem do you have? Oh, do you do this or that? Oh, you know what you need if you're doing this? You need this. That's what you need. And like they can kind of like work you to that solution, and you sell yourself, or it sells itself. You don't have to actually sell it. So I just thought it popped into my head when you said that.
Absolutely, well said. And to kind of add on to that too, I think I was watching a video recently that had Kevin Hart in it, and he actually had something really good to say. He said, one of the best experiences I had was gaining sales experience because some of the people in the highest engineering firms, and even those in the production industry in Hollywood, if that's the route you want to go, all learn sales as a skill, because it's a way of communication. And to your point that you said before, that's what it's all about, is communicating, breaking down barriers, and, in a way also just remaining humble and caring for one another when other people have something else to bring to the table.
It's like, yeah, you can be helpful and nice and make a buck. Like there's no rule saying you can't do both.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's kind of interesting. I've been listening mostly to this section because I don't have any experience with any of this stuff, but it's interesting the way you guys were talking about how like engineers and stuff come in with such a problem solving attitude, whereas like the VP of sales may not, just because of like, I guess, the training engineers have and stuff. And I think that's I don't know. I almost sometimes wonder if having like a background in that sort of thing for maybe salespeople or business majors have to take more. I don't know.
I think so.
Physics classes or something, or math classes. I don't know. Maybe that would be valuable for the profession.
I agree. There's general jobs and skills and classes anybody can take. So like I say it kind of jokingly, but I'm like, everybody should have to work retail. Everybody should have to know what it feels like to be dealing with somebody who is a jerk and an absolute idiot to you for no particular reason, and you just have to smile and do your job.
Yeah.
But it's like things like, there's general things like that you can apply to everything. So there's sales experience. Hell, like I did lifeguarding for a year, learned a bunch of stuff from that.
Cook in a kitchen, get some kitchen experience. It'll
like,
humble you.
Because I think this is in part a Western world thing, and especially an American thing. It's like when we think about skills and jobs and things that you took from a job, it's like the number one thing that people look at is money. How much money and what kind of money did you get out of the job? And then the second thing is actual skills or things you did at the job that are really specific and logistical that you can apply to other jobs that are specific. But it's never stuff like that, like communication skills, learning how to hold a conversation, learning how to get to the root of somebody's problem and then helping them solve that in an effective way. It gets hidden behind terms like customer service experience and sales experience, and it doesn't really describe the importance of it and how it can apply to life in general instead of just a specific job task.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. You guys, so when you talk about like, so for instance, why exactly do you think everyone should, for instance, work retail? Like, I don't know. I guess as a physicist, right? As an aspiring physicist, what does that add? Because I don't think at any point I'm gonna have to make a sales pitch. You know what I mean?
No, I think it's good. I think it would be good for people to do for the specific, nothing really to do with sales or business, but to do with interacting with human beings, specifically in a job, and specifically in a job where it's no joke. Like most people are okay and have passable manners most of the time, in my experience. But with retail, you will see that people will behave in ways that are just beyond rude and aggressive and mean. And you can learn a lot by watching people go through their livelihoods and what they're paying attention to, because people will go up to you at a counter and buy the most basic thing and treat you in a very negative way and like you're stupid and that they're super, super important. And they show up in they can show up in a nice suit, in a nice car, getting nice stuff. They have all these different credit cards and whatever. And then they'll put in their card upside down backwards and they'll need you to point it out to them. So it's like, it was really good for me because it showed that people are so lost in their world and they have these opinions of themselves when really, just like everybody else, they fail at doing the most basic tasks from time to time.
Yeah, for sure.
And they need to, if people kept that in mind more, it's the whole, you don't know anybody else's story deal. It's extending that. And until you're in a situation where you're behind a counter and somebody's just being a jerk to you and they know that they can get away with it because they know that your job is to stay there and smile and to just put on a good face within reason. it's very useful for me. And it made me appreciate a lot more when people are nice and take the time to say, hello, how are you doing? Good afternoon. Excuse me, could you help me with this? I'm sorry to bother you, but.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
And
sorry.
I'll add in too, because I really agree with it. And I think, obviously you guys have more experience than me in just life in general. But one thing I can add on to that too is just I guess Alex is kind of directed at your question. Like going into physics, like do you feel like something like a skill set like influence or leadership would be important to what you're doing?
Yes and no. For one, how to put this, all the physics professors are a little bit nerdy. I mean, I come across a little bit nerdy, and I'm like probably one of the least nerdy people in the department. Like just the way I talk and stuff. They're all a little bit like they spend 8 to 10 hours a day doing advanced calculus problems or something like that, because that's what they do for 10 hours a day. And so I think a lot of what goes on there, a lot of what's important there is your ability to do the work effectively. Because I think it's really of course it's important to be able to interact with people, not just be rude, because then you won't be able to work together. But beyond that, I think what's important is that you're able to actually do things and get them done. And I don't think it matters so much as it does in the business world, right? And world and stuff. The interpersonal interaction isn't it's important, but it's not as important as long as you're both able to understand each other and work together in like a reasonable way, right? I mean, obviously you shouldn't be rude, right? I've never had anyone be rude to me in the lab, so I guess maybe we're all just like considerate human beings most of the time. But like, I don't know that I need leadership per se, because usually it's like, it's a group effort. It's not really a structure.
Well, I think it's how it applies. You know what I mean? Because you and like the, I guess, forms it takes, like the form of leadership you would need to lead a fire team in the Marines is not the type of leadership that you would need presumably in a lab with a team of physicists, but you would need some form of leadership. So like even in those two extremes, I think there's still something in the form of leadership at the guy who's heading the fire team that you could take and apply in a more general way to the guy that's heading a team of physicists in the lab.
I agree.
And I'll add this too, because I know you specifically mentioned professor. I know that's one of like your goals moving forward is to be a professor. And one thing you notice, like, especially like if you're looking for it, like when you sit in a lecture, like being a professor is a position of leadership over students. And you don't really realize it unless you're looking for it. But a lot of times in the way they communicate, like when they go over their syllabus, they outline their expectations. This is what I expect of you. This is what you can do to make me happy, or to, like they make their expectations clear. They have to work with students, like situations come up. They can't just be an asshole all the time, or people are going to complain about them and they get fired.
Can be.
Maybe that's not my space to. Yeah, but still, it's like, and two, like if you're like trying to convince someone to give you funding, you're trying to convince someone to hire you. Like I think all those things require influence, and like I mean it's in everything, like even down to like how do you like write like an email, like if your email starts with like what like you're talking about like how to win friends and influence people. Like I know in there he literally takes like letters and shows how to fix letters, because people will start with like what do I want out of this, what's my problem, and then what's my ask for you and how it'll help you. Whereas if you just flip that and say how I'm going to help you, what's my ask, and then my side of things, it makes the other person way more likely to do what you want them to do. I think everyone can use it.
That's really interesting. Yeah,
absolutely. And so many people, they will oftentimes just overwhelm in emails and just send so much information. Something I always say is keep in mind the 3 C's. And this is something that I just came up with on my own that has helped me make sales. You be clear in what you want and how you want to interact with the person. Be clear, be concise, keep it very short and brief, and concern. And concern's a little bit more abstract, but you want to be able to show some concern for their business in a way where you want to help them. And also that what ties into concern is also inflection as well. When speaking with one another or a client, you want to speak in a humble manner and know when to, dial it back, or, strong arm people in some cases, which if the relationship is strong enough and you've been in contact for a while, sometimes you can just say to them, hey, I know you're feeling this way, but, or you have this concern. I want to reassure you that, I'm going to be here every step of the way, or I'm going to show you, A, B, and C, and it's going to work out.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think especially once a relationship gets going, you can be a little bit more direct. Like, I don't know, oftentimes, like my research advisor, right? We're working on this project, and I'm configuring this camera equipment for him, right? That it's got to talk to the computer, and I don't start off by saying like, dear Professor so and so, I hope you're doing well. I hope your family is well. I would like to provide this. I'm like, yo, Dr. Bonin, could you meet Monday at 6:30?
Yeah. But it might be something as simple as like, hey, doctor, whoever, I found the solution to your camera problem. Can you spend some time with me? Well, like something that simple
Yeah, for sure.
can fix that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So real quick, because we're starting to run out of time here, I want to really kind of open the floor and give you guys both the opportunity to kind of share what your goals are pushing your project forward and your channel, and kind of shed some more light on that for Rich and I, on where you're kind of taking this, because we would love to hear.
Yeah, I can kind of take this one. So I'll start by saying, we literally just started this in December, so we're super early stage. There's a framework that I like to use with a lot of these projects. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Lean Canvas. I think it's from like an Ash Miura book. I can't remember, but anyway, he's the guy who has that quote where it's like, life's too short to build something no one wants. But we started working out through that, and like we were trying to figure out, okay, like, kind of like, who is this for? What problem do they have? What are we solving? What are, what channels are we going to use, this, that, and whatever. And like, we kind of, when we try to sit down and just do that, like introspectively and talking, like we just realized that, this is not something that we have figured out. But I think the two of us, like, we've always had these like really philosophical like discussions. Even in high school, we'd go to a party and the two of us would be in a corner talking with, whoever was so unfortunate to be sucked into our conversation about like aliens or life or whatever. So I know there's something special here. But I don't know, we're still trying to figure out, who's the target audience, what's the problem. We're kind of unpacking that a bit. Like our current value prop is to, more like 18 to 30-year-old people. And it's kind of like explore wealth, science, and wisdom through philosophical debates, but it's still pretty broad. We're trying to niche that down and figure out where we're at. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
It sounds awesome, man. Like really, it's in a lot of ways, it's real similar to what we're trying to do, honest. And as far as the whole audience thing goes, I mean, we've been doing this for a little over a year now, actually almost 2 years. It'll be soon. And like, we're still trying to figure out who exactly our target audience is. Like, cause it's the thing that you eventually develop a general idea for, and we have it, but you never know what people are going to like and what's going to stick and everything. So that's why at the beginning we were just throwing anything and everything out there to see what would stick.
And that's why the best way is to absolutely. And that's why the best way is to have conversations like this, because they really help narrow the scope, and really let people hone in on their craft and figure out what it is they really want to gain from this. So yeah, we're right there with you guys. Absolutely. I want to just say thank you guys again for taking the time to take the time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had an awesome time. I mean,
honestly, this was a fantastic talk, really, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking to you guys as well. You had a lot of interesting things to say. I learned a lot today, I think. So it's always a good day when you learn.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Same.
And if you guys could please go ahead and plug your in your channel, let the people at home watch and know where they can find you.
Yeah,
and we'll do the same on our page. Like, not that our 21 subscribers are going to be very helpful to you guys, but
well, we have. Are you guys on TikTok? Because we got quite a number of. We're getting there on TikTok. We have a few on TikTok.
We have so he's got a personal TikTok. I got a personal TikTok, and our other buddy Matt, he's got one with Kermit the Frog puppet that we have, which is fantastic. We have a Psychosmos one. We don't use it a whole lot, but we've been talking about changing that.
Yeah.
We need to start posting some more stuff on it.
Actually, yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
been by far our most. Wouldn't you say, Kush? That's our by far our most successful.
Yeah, TikTok's the one because I mean, again, I don't know how much you guys scroll through TikTok, but being Gen Z, you know, I saw what TikTok was doing and I was like, this is really wild because it's a platform where people don't shop for content. It goes out and finds people who are already in your audience and tests your stuff out. So like it basically like you put something out there, it does all the marketing. I think it was brilliant. I've been super obsessed with it for like the past year and a half. And so when we got going, you know, I started studying like what KPIs do you need to track? Like, how do you get your views up? Like, I mean, I've been obsessed. Like, I literally have like a spreadsheet where I'm like looking at every video.
He's very excited. And sometimes we'll get a few thousand views, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we had more engagement this week. I'm so happy."
Yeah, or it's like it'll be like engagement per unique viewer. Like you have to get like a few of these different metrics to like all line up, and then you get the viral video. But I think it's just really fun. I mean, the growth strategy is to go viral every week, so it's like a fun goal to have just every week.
That hasn't happened, but we've gotten some that are decently like minorly viral.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe that.
I definitely think TikTok's going to be the next big thing for sure. Yeah, because like you were saying,
I would recommend it.
Even with like YouTube nowadays, it's like the same thing with like satellite TV. Is like you go to there and there's just so many channels that some people are just like analysis paralysis and like I don't know what to click on. And TikTok's like, I got you. I'm just gonna shove it at you. Here's a feed. You just go nuts.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, if you guys want, we can like I know we usually have like our captions are always really they're always like the same as the header. Like it'll be like some clickbaity thing like AOC is a capitalist ? Exclamation point. And so that I'm literally I'm editing the clips today for next week's, and that's literally one of the titles. But like if you guys want, like we can for the not next week, but the week after, if we post clips from this, like we can tag your guys' TikTok in that caption section.
Hell, that'd be awesome.
Go for it. Appreciate it.
Yeah. But sorry, you guys did ask for the plug. I'll do that really quick.
Yeah, please go for it.
We're Winston Boys Podcast on YouTube. If you just type in Winston Boys Podcast, we have like an orange logo and it says Winston Boys in yellow text. And we're also Winston Boys Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. And if you like what we have to say, like we put like on TikTok, you basically get the highlight reel for our episode over the week. So if you don't want to commit to watching the full episodes, TikTok's a great place to check us out.
Yeah, and thanks for everyone for listening in. Thanks for you guys for having us. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. We really want to do this more. This was a great conversation, actually. To be honest with you, I think this is one of the best that we've had. Not to knock anybody else, but so we'd love to try to do this again sometime. This would be good.
Sure. Yeah,
definitely, yeah. We love doing this, and like again, like thank you so much. I know you guys have been at this for a while, and you've got success on YouTube. So we're really excited that you guys wanted to have us on.
Yeah,
I promise you guys are gonna get there too. Trust me. You guys are both handsome. You're articulate. You've got a good setup here. So you'll get there.
I don't know about the handsome or the setup, but oh yeah.
Hey,
thank you so much.
Keep up the good work, guys. Seriously, I'll bring us out real quick. Or unless you want to, Rich, I don't care.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. If you like more content like this, please be sure to check out the Winston Boys Podcast on YouTube and TikTok. We'll be uploading more stuff, highlight reels, and the full episode. And thank you all for joining us, and enjoy your lives.
All right, guys, and that's the episode for today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to grab your nearest philosophy textbook and absolutely smash that like button. And also, if you want to stay up to date with all of your favorite Winston Boys content, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. That way, every time we post a video, you get a notification, you click on it, it takes you to the video you can listen to in the background while you cook, clean, drive, whatever. And also, if you guys like Psychosmos, we'll have them linked in the description below, so please make sure to go check out their channel. And with that, have a good week. We'll see you guys next Sunday.